without any transition, I would like to give the floor to Zoé Lusson, senior expert at Anima, to present a little bit of framework ideas and specifically how the agencies have reacted and how supporting green investment and green innovation in the Mediterranean region. So Zoé, the floor is yours. If you want to share your screen, you can speak and put your microphone on.
Can you hear me?
Very well.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Emmanuel. I'm really pleased to be a part of this webinar today. And first, I would like to introduce today's discussion to focus indeed on the impact of climate change and also of the COVID-19 pandemic on green investment and how it opens a real window of opportunity to foster green growth. And then I will focus on two examples of strategies, of microeconomic strategies to focus the greening of investment. So first, climate change. Well, Emmanuel, you mentioned the reduction of emission targets that have been adopted worldwide. So in Europe, with the adoption of the Green Deal, Europe has put forward a plan to cut emissions by 45% by 2030. The results are not really here yet, but this is the plan. And in the Mediterranean, almost all countries also adopted quantified targets of emission reduction as well under the Paris Agreement. So obviously, these commitments are an opportunity for mainstreaming investment toward green objectives. And so we at Anima monitor foreign investment trends with an observatory. And indeed, we see that over the past year, there is a growing interest of foreign investors for green sectors. And we see a growing number of investment projects in the field of renewable energy, of agri-food, and also transport and logistics, among others. And of course, the COVID-19 pandemic adds another layer of challenges, but also opportunities to foster green investment, and also the shortening of global value chain. So among the factors pointing to this shortening of Mediterranean value chain, I would like to mention first, an increased awareness, not only among companies, but also among governments and citizens of our excessive dependence on Asia. Also on the risk of disruption in supply chains. We still see that today in many sectors, many industries. And finally, an increased awareness about the environmental costs of our production models, which actually end up in becoming economic costs. The second main factor I wanted to mention is that we witness a real acceleration of changes in regulatory frameworks regarding environment. So all these factors and their impacts are discussed in a very interesting paper that is going to be released very soon by the Center for Mediterranean Integration. This paper is written by Patricia Augier and Michael Gaziorek, who are two researchers that are also involved in the Next Society, an initiative I will mention a bit later. And they highlight that in this paper that Mediterranean countries really have the assets to take advantage of this redeployment of value chain, for instance, in terms of geographical and cultural proximity with Europe, but also because of their positioning in terms of labor costs. So that's why Mediterranean countries, investment agencies have this really strategic window of opportunity to support the development of green investment and also probably to rebalance their economic partnership with Europe. So I will highlight two examples of strategies that can be implemented by agencies. First, I would like to mention the greening of production modes. So this offers a vast potential of savings and increased competitiveness in the Mediterranean. Companies can reduce their consumption of energy and other resources, and often with a rather quick return on investment. So to do so, they need financial instruments. And so you can see on this slide one example, the green value chain, which is implemented by EBRD together with other donors and in partnership with Moroccan banks. So under this instrument, Moroccan SMEs that invest in high-performing equipment that integrate energy, water, and resource efficiency get some technical support, but also a loan and even an investment grant. So what can be the role of agencies regarding this greening of production mode? Well, they can promote support SME access to diversified financing instruments. But not only, they can also promote green procurement policies, and they can deliver direct support to companies investing in greener production modes. The second example of strategies I wanted to highlight is the support to green innovation. And to do that, I would like to share Anima's experience with the Next Society. So this is an initiative that aims at supporting innovation ecosystem in 7 Mediterranean countries, from Morocco to Lebanon. It's implemented by a consortium of 25 organizations in Europe and in the South Mediterranean, and it's supported by the European Commission. You can see on this slide some figures regarding the impact of this initiative. And I would like to especially highlight the share of the startups we support that are in green sectors. You can see that more than half of them develop solutions addressing SDGs like zero hunger, health, education, water, and energy. I would like to mention 3 examples of green startups so that you can see how they contribute to the green transition and the greening of our economies. First, Seagreen. So this startup is based in Lebanon, and despite the very difficult situation there, the startup raised money and raised interest and money from an investor, and so it offers solutions to transform sludge into local organic fertilizer according to the Food and Agriculture Organization guidelines. A second example is Achias in Jordan. So it's basically Achias develops a low carbon wastewater treatment plant in one bag, one compostable bag. So it's a really innovative, low tech, low cost and efficient solution in terms of sanitation. It can be produced locally, and it can be used in different settings, including in refugee camps. Finally, I wanted to mention a last example in the field of transportation with Cloudfret, which is based in Morocco and now also in Europe, in France. So they developed a digital platform to connect carriers across Europe and Africa with shippers to optimize truck empty returns. And this allowed to reduce carbon footprint by 30%. So you see that these Mediterranean startups represent a key opportunity to foster green growth. So we think it's a very important strategic objective for agencies to support green innovation. So what are the lessons learned from the Next Society? First, in terms of the most effective programs to support startups, we see that international acceleration programs are really effective. So they should associate boot camps, but also mentoring and international soft landing activities. And so to this end, we developed a program with the Next Society with Big Booster, which is a program that is run in Lyon, in France, and in Boston. And so we, with our other partners and especially Startup Morocco, we added a stop in Morocco, and we see these programs are really impactful for the startups. Another key lessons from the Next Society is the importance of technology transfer and open innovation. We really should support technology transfer because this is a key driver for green innovation. And so within the Next Society, we designed a special program to target researchers, entrepreneurs who transform research outputs or their scientific skills into business. And finally, of course, the question of access to finance, it's crucial to enable startups to scale up and to go international. And what we see is that when the startups in the Mediterranean are investment ready, they still face many barriers. For instance, they lack information, they lack skills, for instance, regarding the legal issues. They also need some support to deal with investors, especially at the due diligence stage. We see also that business support organizations like clusters or accelerators and incubators don't always have the required skills and know-how to support financial know-how to support the startups. And last but not least, the options of funding are still limited, especially at the access to seed capital. So what should be the role of agencies given that context and all these barriers? Well, to support green innovation, well, of course, they can support and promote programs supporting startups, but they should also promote a more integrated value chain of innovation financing products. You can see on this slide an example of mapping that has been designed by BPI France, which is France's public bank in charge of supporting innovation. And you see that the financial products are different at each stage of the project progress. And finally, a last role for agencies is probably to help reinforce financial capacities of all stakeholders within innovation ecosystem, and also to create new collaboration channels between players, innovation players. I would like to conclude with a few words regarding also our global macroeconomic strategies. We really need to shift, but the objectives are not the same for Europe and for the Mediterranean countries. In Europe, probably we have a big major responsibility to become the first developed region to adopt strategies to reduce our energy consumption. You can see two quotes on the slide, but it's now clear that a full decoupling between economic growth and resource consumption is not possible. Of course, green growth offers wide opportunities, but the problem is that even if green innovations are a major part of the solution, they don't happen fast enough, and because growth drives energy demand up. So we really need to reconsider our objectives and probably to develop strategies aiming at reducing our consumption of energy. And by contrast, in the Mediterranean, this is definitively not an option to reduce energy consumption. And on the contrary, Mediterranean countries still need to increase their resource and energy use. But instead of focusing on the development of export-oriented economies, exporting goods that are not always in line with sustainable development, like fast fashion or disposable tech, they really need to focus on national needs and SDGs and to mobilize their resources and productive capacities toward these sectors of health, education, infrastructures, and so on. Thank you very much.